Well, good evening, everybody. Coming from a very middle-class family of people that were involved in business, my parents, quite naturally, in the referendum in 1975, voted for us to stay part of a common market. Because it seemed like rather a good idea, didn't it? But the trouble is that the small print of this was never, ever explained. Now, I first got involved in this when Britain joined the exchange rate mechanism. It seemed to me to be utterly stupid that we should wish to peg sterling against the Deutschmark, given that we had completely different economies, and I didn't believe it would work. But I have to tell you that my view, since I've been there, has changed. I now don't just want the United Kingdom to leave the European Union, I want Europe to leave the European Union, because they've hijacked it. That flag, that anthem, Herman Van Rompuy. I mean, who has ever asked for this? Who has ever voted for this? But just look how they behaved. When the European Constitution was drawn up and the French had a referendum on it, they said no. The Dutch had a referendum on it and they said no. And everybody knew that a majority of member states, being given a chance, would have said no to a full political union. What did they do? They rebranded it as the Lisbon Treaty. And if that wasn't bad enough, they removed the Prime Minister of Greece, Mr. Papandreou, when he dared suggest they should have a referendum. They even removed the Prime Minister of Italy, Mr. Berlusconi. He may have been past his sell-by date. But to think that they've stooped to those levels, well, they actually remove democratically elected Prime Ministers. It says to me that the EU cannot be reformed. It isn't undemocratic, it's anti-democratic. And what about the rule of law? Well, it's supposed to be a treaty-bound organisation with a clear set of rules. But as we saw with the bailouts, there was no provision in the treaties to bail out country after country, but it didn't matter, because now there are no rules. And even in my direst predictions, I would never, ever have thought that we would have seen the events that took place in Cyprus, where literally these gangsters have stolen money from people's bank accounts to help prop up a failing European Union. They have sunk to an all-time low. They now pose a serious threat, not just to democracy, not just to the European economy, but I genuinely now believe that we will see a rise in violence and real political extremism, because Europe has now been split by this moronic idea of a single currency, split from north to south. And far from being a Europe in which we love each other, it's becoming a Europe in which, frankly, everybody now hates the Germans. Now, I have to say, speaking to this title, to this motion, that I do want us to get divorced from the European Union, but I want it to be an amicable divorce. And I say that because I'm not anti-European at all. Indeed, I'm married to a girl from Hamburg. Yes, so no one needs to tell me about the dangers of living in a German-dominated household. No, I want us to have a good trading relationship with the European Union, but not to be part of a political customs union. And I'm very struck that there's a group of countries out there with 2 billion people in them, where common law predominates, where English predominates, countries out there that are our friends, our own kith and kin around the world. And it is a dreadful thing that we turned our backs on the Commonwealth all those years ago, and we should re-engage with those new, thriving, English-speaking markets across the world. We've got to have a global future for this country, not just a little backyard European future. In short, I want us to regain our self-confidence. Come on, we're British. We should govern ourselves. We should insist that the only people who should govern Britain should be us, through the ballot box. And if we don't like our governments, we can turf them out and get somebody else to do it. And the good news is, this line of argument isn't just winning in this country, it's winning across the rest of Europe too. Thank you.